In just 12 months, Iowa's oat market plummeted to an all-time low. 43% of acres disappeared, and 90,000 fields vanished. Prices were cut in half. Farmers walked away. Harvests were abandoned. Insurance protection was stripped away overnight. If oats once anchored the Midwestern landscape, what forced nearly half the growers to quit? The answer is not just economics. It is a story of policy failure and vanished demand, and it is unfolding right now. The numbers are stark. In 2021, Iowa farmers planted about 180,000 acres of oats. The following year, acreage dropped to 130,000 acres. In 2023, a brief rally saw fields rebound to 200,000 acres. By 2024, plantings peaked at 210,000 acres, the highest in 5 years. Then the bottom fell out. USDA-National Agricultural Statistics Service figures show only 120,000 acres of oats planted in 2025. That is a loss of 90,000 acres in a single year. That is a 43% collapse, unmatched in recent history. Practical farmers of Iowa call it the lowest oat acreage the state has seen in half a decade. The chart is a jagged line, up, down, up, and then a vertical drop. This is not normal market fluctuation. It is volatility on a scale Iowa has not faced in a generation. The state's oat fields have shrunk by nearly half in just 12 months, erasing years of incremental gains. For those still planting, the risk has become impossible to ignore. Each year's decision now feels like a coin toss, with no guarantee that markets or policy will support the crop. Federal data leaves no room for debate. Iowa's oat market has hit an all-time low. The scale of abandonment is visible in every county report, every satellite map, every empty field where oats once grew. The collapse is not just a number. It is a reckoning for a crop that once defined the region. Oat prices in Iowa have collapsed. In late 2021, farmers could sell oats for nearly $4 a bushel. By mid-2025, local bids hover just above $2, down about 40 to 50%. National farm price data shows the same freefall. Futures at the Chicago Board of Trade tumbled from over $5 to the low $2 range. For Iowa growers, the math is brutal. Input costs, seed, fertilizer, fuel have not dropped. But the check at the elevator is half what it was 3 years ago. On paper, Iowa's oat yields remain steady. In 2024, fields averaged 86 bushels per acre. In 2025, the average is 80 bushels per acre. But no amount of bushels can make up for a market that no longer covers costs. Last year, only 57% of planted oat acres in Iowa were actually harvested. The year before, it was just 47%. Fields are seeded, but then left to stand. Harvesting costs more than the crop is worth. For farmers like Tom Jensen in Fayette County, the decision is wrenching. He planted 120 acres of oats in 2024, hoping for a rebound. By July, prices had sunk so low that he parked the combine and walked away. He says it would have cost him more in diesel than he would get for the grain. Across the state, thousands of acres met the same fate. The economics are clear. When prices collapse and there is no safety net, harvest is abandoned. The risk falls entirely on the grower's shoulders, with no policy to cushion the blow. Crop insurance used to offer Iowa oat farmers a sense of security. For years, many relied on high-coverage yield policies, often referred to as 90% APH, to buffer against bad weather or disappointing harvests. But that safety net has frayed. In recent seasons, farmers across key oat counties found their options shrinking. Agents report that coverage levels for oats, once as high as 90% of proven yield, quietly dropped to 80% or even 75%. In some areas, insurance providers simply stopped writing new oat policies altogether. Unlike corn and soybeans, which enjoy broad revenue protection and a menu of risk management tools, oats remain boxed in by yield-only insurance. These policies do nothing when prices collapse, as they did after 2021. As long as yields hold steady, no indemnity is paid, even if the market price falls by half. For many, the realization came too late. The insurance they counted on would not cover the real risk, the risk of a market that no longer supports their crop. Extension specialists and RMA staff confirmed the trend. Oats have become a marginal crop in the eyes of underwriters. Low acreage, thin data, and rising losses have made high coverage policies hard to justify. Farmers are left exposed. When the price of oats plunged, yield insurance offered little help. The gap between what is covered and what is needed has grown into a chasm. Without a robust safety net, Iowa oat growers faced the crash alone, bearing the full force of a market downturn with no policy to cushion the blow. Quaker's Cedar Rapids mill looms over the city, its sweet aroma drifting for miles. Yet the oats that feed its silos rarely come from Iowa fields. Instead, mile-long trains roll in from the Canadian prairies, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, hauling grain more than 1,000 miles south. For decades, Quaker has built its supply chain to favor Canadian oats, dense, uniform, and easy to source in bulk. Rail lines run straight from Western Canada to the mill's doorstep, bypassing the scattered smaller lots grown across Iowa. A logistics manager familiar with the operation explains the calculation. You can fill a train with one phone call in Manitoba. In Iowa, you are chasing truckloads from dozens of farms. It is not just cheaper per bushel, it is reliable, and the quality is consistent. The scale advantage is clear, and the result is predictable. The Canadian system delivers plumper, heavier oats that clear food-grade specs. Iowa's crop, even in good years, struggles to match the test weight and uniformity the mill demands. PepsiCo's 2024 annual report makes the company's priorities plain. Risk to our supply of certain raw materials is mitigated through purchases from multiple geographies and suppliers, the report says, and it cites price and availability as the deciding factors. For Iowa farmers, that means the local buyer they once relied on is now a global player, loyal only to the most efficient supply. The Cedar Rapids mill keeps running at full speed, but the flow of Canadian oats leaves Iowa's harvest stranded. Local demand is suppressed by a corporate decision to look elsewhere. The result is farmers have nowhere to sell, and the market for their oats dries up, acre by acre. Iowa's oat fields can deliver. At the Iowa State Research Farm in Nashua, trial plots in 2025 produced over 140 bushels per acre, nearly double the statewide average. Even at Kanawha, where heavy rains flattened the crop, yields still landed between 55 and 70 bushels. Across the state, the average sits at 80 bushels per acre. The problem is not in the ground. It is in the market. Researchers point to a stubborn gap. Test weights from these trials rarely reach the 38 pounds per bushel mark demanded by food processors. But the agronomy works. The harvest is there if there is a buyer willing to take it. Iowa State University scientists say the right management and investment could close that quality gap. Without a reliable market, the incentive disappears. The public stakes go far beyond yield. Martin Larson, an oat and livestock farmer, has measured nitrate levels under his oat fields for years. His tests show up to 60% less nitrate in tile water compared to corn. University data backs him, with studies confirming a 30 to 50% drop in nitrate runoff when oats are in the rotation. The environmental benefit is measurable and immediate: cleaner water for Iowa's rivers and towns. Yet with rental rates for oat forage dropping to $187 per acre and no price recovery in sight, farmers are bracing for another exodus. If nothing changes, planted acres could fall below 100,000 by 2026. This is an economic emergency for rural Iowa. 3 levers could stop the bleeding. PepsiCo could commit to a 10,000-acre Iowa oats pilot for its Cedar Rapids plant, roughly 800,000 bushels, a fraction of its annual intake. The USDA Risk Management Agency could publish a timeline for restoring robust oat insurance by the second quarter of 2026. Iowa's legislature could fund nitrate reduction payments tied to oats, rewarding farmers for public benefits the market ignores. The tools exist. The question is, who will act before Iowa's oat fields vanish for good? Today, Iowa oat fields stand nearly empty, eclipsed by corporate supply chains and relentless market forces. Crop diversity vanishes, and with it, water quality and farmer choice. As prices stagnate and acres disappear, the lesson is clear. When local agriculture collapses, the consequences ripple far beyond the farm gate.